unless Jamie already has it.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Mom and dad?
Yeah, there you go.
You can't say mom and dad anymore?
Yeah. You can't say mom and dad anymore. And so, and we can talk about these, but I asked the audience at one point, I said, how many of you are reluctant to raise your hand and say anything? Because I asked the audience to participate, and they do a lot. How many of you are afraid to say anything right now because you don't want to get targeted? And it looked like the wave. Everybody said, "Oh yeah, I don't want to say shit."
Peanut gallery?
Yeah.
Why can't you say peanut gallery?
That one, I always thought, and look, I'm here to learn. So I asked him, "What is it?" I thought peanut gallery was at the cheap seats at the baseball game.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Like out in the outfield where the kids would go and get a $2 ticket or something and eat peanuts and have a great time.
Isn't that what it is?
Apparently not. Apparently it has some racial overtones.
Peanut gallery does?
And the mom and dad was, someone said, well, we don't have a mom and dad in our home. We have a mom and mom. And so it makes my child feel funny if...
Here it is. According to linguistics experts, the origin of this phrase derives from the late 1800s vaudeville era. A popular style of entertainment that included jugglers, comedians, singers, and more. The peanut gallery was the cheapest section of seats, usually occupied by people with limited means. Yeah, the cheap seats. But how is that offensive?
Well, man, I've been in a peanut gallery a lot of my life.
Yeah.
I got to tell you.
Well, I guess, are they saying... peanuts were a popular concession snack for vaudeville shows. Unpopular performers would often find themselves pelted with the easy-to-hurl edible projectiles.
Others disagree in part with the preceding class-based rather than racial claim.
They note that in the past, cheap balcony seats were often reserved for or largely made up of African-American patrons. Thus, since the phrase implies the opinions expressed by those from the gallery were unsolicited, unwarranted, or unhelpful, the phrase also connotes something negative about those giving them, purported to be African Americans. Boy, that's a stretch.
Well, you don't have to be offended every time you can be.
Right.
Right?
Right, but that expression doesn't have a racial connotation the way most people use it.
I wouldn't think.
It's usually people in the back of the room. That's just how we use it.
They said brainstorm.
What?
Was offensive to people that had brain injuries.
Oh my God!
that it was an ableist thing.
Oh, well, if you have a fucking brain, if you move and walk, if you're brainstorming, you're using your brain. Is running offensive? Is it offensive for people who can't run? Should the Olympics be canceled because the Olympics are ableist? What the fuck are we talking about?
It seems to me, and look, maybe if you're in that situation, and I ask, and blindsided, I asked some people that had impaired vision, and they were like, "What?" They didn't understand.
About which phrase?
Blindsided. That you can't say blindsided or blind spot in your car. Like, he was in my blind spot, and they were like, "I don't understand why I'm offended." Now that doesn't mean there aren't people that are, but I couldn't find it, and I only talked to 6 or 7.
I bet it's more people that are not blind that are looking for things to be offended with. Yeah. What about first world problems? How's that one?
Well,
how's that offensive?
I think it's that third world is mostly black. Was what one of the audience members said. So that was racial.
Well, third world encompasses a lot of different ethnicities, doesn't it? There's a lot of Latin America. It's a lot of Asia. It's a lot of Eurasia.
That's what the audience member said.
Yeah.
And they didn't want it in the show.
So are we allowed to say first world, second world, and third world? Because that seems like that's offensive too then.
To me, that had to do with infrastructure.
Right.
Because I know, like in the Congo, the entire country has the electrical infrastructure of a city the size of Austin for millions and millions of people, which is why they're so vulnerable to natural disaster, and they don't have dams, and
Yeah.
they don't have electrical pumps. And I always thought of first, second, third world having to do with infrastructure and technology and support systems and all that sort of thing.
I always thought of it has to do with dictatorial governments and
Yeah, you could think of
corruption and
Yeah.
yeah. Finding things to be offensive is it's recreation for a lot of people.
And I think that's what we've gotten to.
Yeah,
I think
recreational outrage.